Hey there guys, this is James from Team Salmon, and today I'm bringing you a Trickstar deck profile. This was the deck profile that I took first place at Locals with. It's actually my first Locals win. I went 4-0, defeating, it was 2 Pendulums, 1 True Draco, and what was the other deck I played? I can't remember, but there was another deck that I played. Oh, Gem Knights, that was it. It was like the OTK, FTK thing. I'm really proud with how I did with this. I did get a bit lucky, admittedly, but this is probably one of the best I've played. It's a shame it's at a Locals and not at a bigger event, but usually I'm judging at bigger events, so it's fine. I'm going to go through the deck. It's a fairly standard list with a couple of things, but I'm just going to go through everything, imagining that you have no experience with the deck whatsoever. So without further ado, here we go. So starting off with the monsters, we have triple Trickstar Candina. This is your main searcher. This searches on normal summon, it searches a Trickstar card. So that searches either Trickstar Lycoris, a Light Stage, or a Reincarnation, or a Lilybell as you need it. So whichever card you need in that situation, usually it is a Lycoris or a Light Stage to go into Lycoris, or it's for a Reincarnation for your Reincarnation draw play. Also, it burns for 200 every time a spell or trap card resolves, which is actually really good against the Pendulum matchup, because obviously they're placing things into their scale, and that counts towards spell and trap cards resolving. So it just puts more damage on board, especially against the Pendulum matchup. Next, you have triple Lycoris. This is the one you want the most. So this can target a Trickstar monster on the field and return it to the hand to special summon itself. If you have multiples of these in hand, you can target the same Trickstar monster and summon out multiples, which is really good. Also, this card burns for 200 with every single card your opponent adds to their hand. So in their draw phase, take 200. If they add to their hand, take 200. If you use something like Trickstar Reincarnation and make them dump their hand and then draw again, then you're burning for however many cards they draw times 200. It's really good. This is what puts most of your damage on the board. So you want as many of these out as possible. This is probably the win condition really of this deck, apart from making link monsters. And the last Trickstar monster is Trickstar Lilybell. This is mostly used for recursion and OTKs, because this card can attack directly. And when it inflicts battle damage, you get to add a Trickstar from your graveyard to your hand. So it's usually a Lycoris, because then you can... it's still in the battle phase. This is a quick effect, so during the battle phase you can tag out your Lilybell and deal more damage with a Lycoris, which you've just got from grave, which is really good for getting more damage on board. Also, it's part of the Firewall FTK, which I will go into at the end. So that's it for the Trickstar monsters. You don't play that many, it's only 7, but you play a lot of hand traps. So starting with triple Droll and Lockbird. So this card, when you discard it, it stops your opponent adding cards to their hand for the rest of the turn, but you can only activate it after an opponent has already added a card to their hand, and you can't use it during their draw phase, so you can't respond to their draw during the draw phase with it. It is really good because of this card, Trickstar Reincarnation. I'll get into the combo later, because this is going to be, as I said, this is going to be a quite in-depth profile, so I'll go into the combo at the end. But with Trickstar Reincarnation and this card, you can basically kill your opponent by just getting rid of their hand, banishing their hand. They can't really do it. Yeah, so this is really good. Also, it does occasionally come up as just a way to stop your opponent from going off. Things like True Draco, if they've already used, say, Pot of Duality, they can't then go into... they can't then use Card of Demise or anything like that. So it's really good, but mostly it is for the Reincarnation combo. Triple Ash Blossom, it's the best hand trap in the game. Discard it to stop a search, discard it to stop send from grave, and what was there was a third one I could never remember. Oh, special from deck, of course. Yeah, so stops the special from deck, stops dumping a card from deck, stops searching from the deck. So it's really good. And then 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card is really good, and I'll probably bump it up to 3, but there were I was playing 3 originally, but then before I took this to locals, I was thinking there are fewer opportunities for this to come up than there were for Ash Blossom and stuff. But I side the 3rd one, and often I was siding it in anyway, so I might bump this up to 3. But this is discard it to pop a card on the field when it activates so when a monster activates its effect, or when a spell or trap card that's already on the field activates its effect, discard it to destroy it. It's really good. It stops Dragonic Diagram, can just get rid of monsters. So if you're playing something like World Chalice, you can use this against the agent to stop them summoning Shine Balls. So they get the one Shine Ball out, but then it just stops things. It can really halt plays, this card, so it's really good. So I might bump it up to 3, but 2 was fine, and siding the 3rd one is still okay. And then when I played, this was basically a replacement for 2 cards I don't quite have yet. They are on their way though, because finally I have money so I can actually get some cards. My replacement for those cards that I'll get to later was Too Honest. This, I'm really glad I ended up playing it over the cards I originally was going to put in instead. This really helped out occasionally, because I mean it was even there was even one game where I just normal summon this and poked, and then main phase 2 bamfs it to hand just to go. So this, you discard to boost up a light monster's attack by the attacking monster or the monster you're attacking. I use this to run over a couple of cards. I actually normal summoned a Ghost Ogre, which has 0 attack, and this was against the Gem Knight player, and then used Honest just to crash into his Gem Knight Obsidian. Or is it Obsidian? The big 2/9 Vanilla Fusion, whatever it's called. But yeah, that was quite funny. It was just the best way. I went through it in my head. It was the best way to get rid of the field, considering the other cards I had as well. So yeah, really good card, and I'm considering actually keeping this in as long as I can, really. That's it for the monsters. So spells, triple Trickstar Light Stage. This is the field spell. When activated, it searches a Trickstar monster. So usually you want to search this to then search Candina, or if you've already got a Candina, use this to search Lycoris or whatever. This also deals an extra 200 damage every time a Trickstar monster inflicts damage, so that's including by battle. So it just gives you that extra little bit of damage push that really helps out. I mean, that's basically the point of the Trickstar strategy, is the burn effect. While it can really kill your opponent if you have like multiple Lycoris, multiple Reincarnation, you can kill your opponent pretty easily. But generally, the burning effects are more to put pressure on your opponent. But then you just use link monsters to really just take advantage. But yeah, so that extra burn from this is really good. Which is why if you don't have the light stage, you search off Candina before you then search the Lycoris using this. So that's really good. Also, you can target a set monster, a set spell or trap of your opponent's side of the field, and they can't activate it until the end phase. So they either have to chain it to this, which obviously if it's something like a Mirror Force or something, they can't use it, or they have to activate it during the end phase. Which obviously if it's a card that they can't use, it just gets sent to the graveyard. So that's really good. Just to lock your opponent out a little bit, or just force them to activate cards early. So yeah, that's pretty good. Triple Terraforming, it's your field spell searcher, just to search this. It's the only field spell I play, but you want to see it as much as possible. Triple Scapegoat, this gives you tokens to go into your link monsters, mostly Firewall Dragon. Obviously you activate it during your opponent's end phase so you're getting around the restriction. Triple Cosmic Cyclone, this is your back row removal, and I mean, it was really good considering that I was facing two True Draco decks, just because it means that they could get it off the field and banished, so things like Heritage wouldn't go off, Heritage, Disciples wouldn't go off. I know you can chain the traps, but the traps don't get their secondary effects when they get sent to grave. Things like that. Also, because it's a quick play, you can obviously just chain it to whatever. It's really good. And obviously against Pendulum, you can snipe the Pendulum scales. They don't go to the Pendulum, to the extra deck. So, yeah. And then last of the spell cards, 2 Pot Desires, just for extra draw power. So banish 10 to draw 2. You really want to be drawing into your hand traps here, So that's where you run this. So that's it for the spells. And then I have triple Trickstar Reincarnation, which is such a good card. This banishes your opponent's hand, and then they draw cards equal to the number of cards they banished. And then also you can banish it from grave to summon out a Trickstar monster from the grave. So it's just a monster reborn for that. Oh, Trickstar Reincarnation. It reincarnates your Trickstars, which you can just use to either combo. So you can bring back a Lilybell, then bounce it with Lycoris to then summon it back out, stuff like that. But you can also just use this to just block your opponent if they've got big monsters out. You can just go, I need to block things, so banish, summon, banish, summon, just to stop you from dying that turn. Triple Torrential Tribute. This didn't come up really this didn't come up at all really. The theory behind this is that against True Draco, when Masterpiece comes out, it's generally immune to monsters and spells, so you can just flip this and goodbye Masterpiece. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good. But I didn't draw into it, or if I did, it was destroyed before I could activate it, or it wasn't the right time to activate it, so yeah. But in theory it's good, so I'm probably going to keep this in for now just to see how it goes. But if not, this is probably going to be one of the first things to go if I need more space for things. And then the last three cards, Strike, Judgment, and Warning. This was the card I was going to bump up to 3 for the which I replaced with Honest, just because I don't have my other 2 yet. They are on their way though, so I will be featuring them in more decks. But then I just thought, right, I'll just play as many Solemns as I can, just to negate things really. Strike didn't come up, I didn't actually see it at all. Judgment came up once when I negated a Pendulum Summon. Wasn't great, but he was also about to Pendulum Summon 3, so I thought, right, I might as well just get rid of these. And then I Warning the Pendulum Summon, and I Judgmented a normal summon of something. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I Judgmented a normal summon, but it stopped the turn because he couldn't do anything else after that. So it was really good. But again, these are quite niche. They don't come up as often as I'd like them to. And maybe if I had more strikes, it would come up a bit more often, but again, that's something more for testing. But they worked well for the locals that I was at. So that's it for the main deck. That is 40 cards. Now for the extra deck. For the Link ones, they're all mostly Link monsters. So for the Link ones, I played 3 Link Spider. You only need 2, but I played the 3rd because I had the space, and I thought, well, just in case I need it, you never know. Then Link 2s. So this is what you go into off Scapegoat, because it needs a normal monster. Mrs. Radiant, you need 2 Earths. This is again for the Scapegoat combo to go into Firewall Dragon. Proxy Dragon, just a generic Link 2. Sometimes if you mess up with your placement of your cards, you sometimes need Proxy Dragon instead of Mrs. Radiant to go into Borrow Load. So I like having this just for when I'm stupid. 1 Underclock Taker, never went into it, but in theory it's a good card. Akashic, again, didn't go into it. Most of these you don't really go into, you don't need to, but they're nice to have. So Akashic is good, but didn't go into it. Holy Angel, good, but didn't go into it, didn't need to. I almost went into it once when I needed to hit over something that was 1900 attack, I think, and this is 2k. But in the end I found a different way around it, so a better way around it as well, so that was good. And then I play 1 Ib, which again I didn't go into, but this is for the Ib Ningirsu play. Again, it's sort of a Scapegoat play, but you don't really go into this unless you play doing that. When the Nightmare cards come out, or what they were in the OCG Troy, or the OCG translations with Troymares, when they come out, they're like quite a few of these cards will go. So like Ib Ningirsu will go, Underclock Taker will go, things like that. So Link 3s, Ningirsu for the Ib Ningirsu plays. 1 Deco Talker, just because it's generic, relatively generic Link 3. Downwards Arrows, pretty good. Also, it can stop it can negate a thing, so it's pretty good. Firewall Dragon for the Firewall loop. You don't get the Firewall loop off very often, but when you do, then your opponent just can't really do anything. Firewall Dragon, you go into this all the time. Yeah, in my opinion, it's the best Link monster so far. Steals your opponent's monsters. Yeah, easy to go into off Scapegoat. Yeah, can't really complain about it. And then for the last two monsters, I play two Xyz monsters. So I play one rank 3, which is Breaksword, and one rank 4, which is Baguska. You barely go into rank 4s, although I did actually go into this once when I had stolen my opponent's Harmonizing Magician and using Borrowload, and went into this with Honest, which I'd normal summoned. In the end, it ended up losing me the game because he had Borrowload Dragon. He made his own Burrow Dragon, so then stole this. And whereas I could have probably just dealt as much damage as I could, I got him down to 200 life points that game as well. So all I needed was an extra 200 damage, and I'd have been fine. But nope, wasn't to be apparently. And I didn't go into this, but this is the one you'd go into most out of the two of these. Really, I say as I went into this one and not this one. But you can go into these with multiple Lycruses, and then obviously you can revive the Lycruses with Light Stage. And this just deals with problem cards. It deals with any floodgates, so Imperial Iron Wall, just Macrocosmos, I guess. But things that you don't really want on the field, you just get rid of it with this. So that's it. I'm thinking of playing an extra rank 3. I'm probably going to play, if I am, I'm going to play the Super Quantal Mech Beast Grand Pulse, just because it's the same reason as this, really. It just pops back row, but obviously without having to kill this as well, or kill another one of your own cards. But this has more utility overall. But yeah. So that's it for the extra deck. And now for the side deck, we have 3 Idra Millions. This is really good at dealing with problem cards. It's banished up from 5 cards from your extra deck or hand or field face down to summon this, and it gains attack equal to the number of face down banished cards times 100. But it can also banish cards at the start of the damage step. So it's really good. However, I only did this once when I drew 2 of them and just banished 15 cards, or banished 5 for one and 10 for the other, just to get an extra 3k damage on board, just because I needed it to go for game. So that's the only time this came up at locals. But obviously it's good. It still won me the game, and it's obviously good at dealing with problem cards, which is difficult to get over with Trickstars because they're all relatively low attack. So anything bigger than 1800 is a real struggle to get over. So having a card like this really helps out, especially going second. Third, Ghost Ogre. I've already been through Ghost Ogre things, and I sided this in quite a lot. Triple, Called by the Grave. I didn't actually side this in that much, but this is, in theory, a good card. It's the sort of card I'll probably end up maining, depending on... It's very format dependent, but right now I'm just siding it. It's the sort of thing that I'll put in if I have spaces to put it. So if I know there's a bunch of cards I'm going to take out, and I'm going first, I'll put this in just to stop my opponent's hand traps. Regeki and Dark Hole as board wipes. Yeah, not really much I could say. 3 Dimensional Barrier, because I hate pendulums. That's mostly where this came up, but it was really good against Gem Knights, obviously because they go into a lot of fusions. So it's really good against a lot of decks. It's a shame that you can't call Link, but oh well, it is what it is. But this comes up quite often with the Pendulum matchup, as well as any other like rogue matchup. So again, well, I say rogue matchups, it doesn't even have to be that rogue. So things like Mech Knight Invoked, you can flip this and call Fusion so they can't get out Mechaba, things like that. So it's really good. Yep, and then the last card is Triple Anti-Spell Fragrance. Again, I hate pendulums, so this stops pendulums because they can't set things in there. They can't set scales. This won me my both my pendulum games. So that's it for the deck profile. I am going to quickly go into a couple of the combos. So I'm going to quickly explain, because some people don't actually get this. I'm going to quickly explain the combo with Reincarnation and Droll and Lockbird. So you can either do this with 2. The easy version is with 2 Reincarnations and Droll and Lockbird. So going first, you'd set both your Reincarnations. So set both your Reincarnations, and you have this in hand. During your opponent's standby phase, you flip this, They banish the hand and draw it again. Let it resolve, and on resolution, they have then added to hand. You can then activate the second reincarnation, but you can still respond with draw unlock because you're still responding to the add from deck. So the window that this card can activate in is still there. So you activate this as your Chainlink 1, then Chainlink 2, draw, and so it chains resolve backwards. So this stops them from drawing, and then this resolves as much as possible, so it banishes their hand. They can't draw, they're left with no hand. It's really good. That's the easy version because you're forcing them to draw using this. The more difficult version, but something that some players don't play around, is if you only have these two. It's exactly the same, but you've just got to wait for your opponent to add a card to their hand themselves. So if they use something like, so if it was against spirals, for example, they activate Reinforcement of the Army to search for Super Agent. Then you just go, on resolution of Reinforcement of the Army, Chainlink 1, activate Reincarnation, Chainlink 2, banish, discard, draw, banish their entire hand. You win at that point because they've got no resources. Unless they can play from Banish Zone, which not many decks can do. I think the only deck that can do that is Metaphyz, which isn't exactly meta. And the last combo, which is one that you need to be careful of, is with Firewall Dragon. You need three cards, so you need a Firewall Dragon out, a Trickstar Lilybell, and a Trickstar Lycoris. So what you're going to want, and your opponent needs to have a monster with greater than 1600 attack. So the way this works is you will have a Firewall out somewhere, so say it's in the extra monster zone. You need to have Lycoris in this zone in a zone that Firewall Dragon points to. So so this is in hand. You use Lycoris. You attack with so in the battle phase, you attack with Lycoris into their monster that's bigger than 1600. This goes to grave, and then Firewall Dragon will trigger. You get to special summon a card from hand, so you special summon Lilybell. Make sure it's not at this zone that Lycoris was in. Then Lilybell can attack directly. Effective Lilybell will activate because it's dealt damage. You get to add Lycoris back to hand. Then you get to bounce. Use Lycoris' effect to add Lilybell to hand and to special summon itself. This way, special summon itself to the zone that Firewall Dragon points to. You attack. This goes to grave. Lilybell will summon herself, attack, add Lycoris, bounce, attack, grave, summon, attack, etc. And you just get, especially if you've got light stage on board, you have to attack 8 times, and that's 8,000 damage. Because this deals 800, because this has 800 attack plus the 200 from Trickstar Light Stage. So yeah, but usually they don't have 8,000 when this happens, so you're just finishing them off with this really. But this is a really good play if your opponent can't stop it. If your opponent hasn't already stopped like your Firewall play and stuff like that, then if you can get this off, great, you win. Yeah, that's basically the two big sort of combos of this deck. Other than that, it's just spamming out this card and dealing as much damage as you can whilst trying to get out big link monsters. So that is the deck profile. It's really in-depth, a lot more in-depth than I thought this was going to be, but hopefully this has given you a good insight into how Trickstars play and if you want to play the deck or not, really. And I hope people do, because it's a fun deck. I think it's a fun deck. A lot of people don't like it, or they don't like playing against it. I think it's a really fun deck, and it'd be great if more people were playing it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will come at you with another deck profile at some point, I'm sure. Please tune in to my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/TeamSalmonYGO, and subscribe to the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh content and highlights from my Twitch streams. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.